A massive rehab center in the biggest army base in the Philippines.
If you want to go outside exactly 6 months, you must have no violation, but that's impossible.
A growing network of community projects led by a friend of the Pope.
If you don't get rehabilitated, you get killed by the police or by the syndicates or by the drugs.
Two different approaches to rid the country of its methamphetamine habit. Despite President Rodrigo Duterte's massive crackdown, Cebu, as it's known, is still making it onto the streets, and law enforcers are now dealing with a new generation of users.
Some youngsters are inviting other youngsters to a sex party. They call it pimping. It's an acronym for party and play. And they use millennial drugs such as ecstasy.
As the government's focus switches from retribution to rehabilitation, what hope has the Philippines of surviving its destructive drug dependency? The historic city of Caloocan in Metro Manila was the scene of a great battle that led to the revolution that ended Spain's occupation in the 1890s. Today, it's one of the front lines in the war on drugs. In Barangay 174, police and unknown attackers have killed at least 80 people linked to drugs since Duterte's purge began.
How many cameras do you have?
We have 16 cameras.
Ano po name nila? Rolando de la Cruz.
In April 2017, masked men burst into former Cebu addict Rolando de la Cruz's home and gunned down his son. The 27-year-old was hit with 4 bullets, including one in the head. Rolando had gone out minutes earlier to get change for the illegal gambling operation that fueled their drug habits.
So yun yung pangyayari na nagtulak sa'yo na talaga magbago ka na kasi nag-gusto ng buhay yung anak mo eh.
Musin sa tako. Kasi yung takot ko talaga hindi mawala pag nandito kasi. Eh, pag nandito ko na sa loob, nandito na ako sa loob siguro.
You cannot attribute all the killings to the police. It's very infantile. Drug syndicates everywhere operate in a violent way. You were given a kilo of sabu, and then you did not remit that money, and so the syndicates will kill you. And that makes perfect sense.
Barangay Chairman Enrique Bunag was told by the police to make a list of known users and dealers. Knowing he may be condemning some of his neighbours to death, he refused. His conscience told him to find another way.
So you confessed to the Pope?
Several times. Yeah, but he was a priest then.
Bunag sought advice from the local priest, Father Luciano Filoni, an Argentinian who knows Pope Francis from his early days in the seminary in Buenos Aires.
In many ways, drugs are killing, destroying families, destroying security in the communities. Then a lot of people got killed in this war on drugs. So it's like, except for rehabilitation, there is no way out of drugs alive.
Many of the users caught up in the crackdown find themselves in rehab. Around 1,000 are here in this vast mega rehab in Nueva Ecija province, 4 hours north of Manila and in the middle of Fort Magsaysay Army Base.
Usually they are still high, still not cooperative, mad at their parents for bringing them here. So we put them in a room alone for 2 days.
The prefab center was built in a few months by money donated by mainland Chinese property tycoon Huang Rulan. There are basketball courts, common rooms and even an art gallery, plus a kitchen donated by Jollibee. But there's no fried chicken here, just cold turkey dished out boot camp style.
We have daily schedule of activities. It means that it's like military style. Example, 5 to 5:30 is wake up. If you don't wake up 5 to 5:30, you have violation. Every violation will prolong your stay here.
Since it's free, it's cheaper than private rehabs and draws in voluntary residents, as they are called, like 39-year-old Ramon, a Cebu user for 22 years, until he realized it was destroying his health and family.
We eat good food and we stay in a place that, if you can see, is almost more of a dormitory. It is very, very far from the outlook and from the view of jail. But many of my friends were not that lucky. Some of them ended up dead in institutions such as mental hospitals.
Right now, there are siguro approximately 50 cases which have comorbidities regarding the mental function. The good thing is if they take the maintenance meds, they can function properly.
It's a bit of an odd situation in being inside an army base. Why didn't they just build it somewhere else?
For me personally, it's more safe.
Instances when some of the residents escape. The place is surrounded by camps, by offices of the military. So they cannot go far.
It's like their own escape from their old communities. Here it's peaceful, so they have space for themselves to think about themselves, to plan what they're gonna do with their lives, to make it better, how to do it.
But just how peaceful may depend on how often the army uses the firing ranges next door.
The religious factor, that connection with a higher being, is the single most effective inspiration for a person to give himself or herself a second chance. Now the problem with some approaches in churches is when you make it the only approach, although we are in a church, we don't want it to spiritualize the program. Realize it doesn't work only through prayer. They need psychologists, they need psychiatrists, they need science. And we realize science is not enough. They need jobs, they need exercise. So we try to have it holistic in approach.
While the government's facility could be said to be using a stick approach, after 2 months of research, Filoni and Bunag came up with carrots.
Community-assisted rehabilitation, recovery of outpatient training system.
Bunag has allocated a spot in the Barangay Hall's vegetable garden for growing mushrooms, one of the skills the recoveries are being taught.
Sometimes rehab looks like a prison somehow. You cannot go in and out as you wish. Now in this program, you have to come back every day. So every day you have to repeat your willingness to fight for it.
If you want to go outside exactly 6 months, you must have no violation, but that's impossible. So, because nobody's perfect. This is where the investigations happen.
For the violations.
Yes, because resident to resident, they confront each other. We want to know who's telling the truth, who's lying, because some are just made up. Example, we are both residents. I tell you, you punch me, but it's not true. But I make them believe, and they will punish you.
Which one?
There. It's already...
The red door or the silver door?
Yes.
Despite Duterte's crackdown, drug labs like this one here in Cauayan in northern Isabela province are still being busted on a regular basis. According to PDEA, the Philippine Drug Enforcement Agency, the Chinese manufacturers could have put 3 tons of shabu on the streets every month if their operation wasn't shut down after a bloody gun battle with police.
It's something to wonder how come such a big war on drugs with so many casualties. Somewhere there is a free flowing that has not been touched.
Is it easy to get drugs?
Well, in some places, yes, it's easy. Not in Davao, of course.
Sorry?
Not in Davao, where the president resides.
Not only is shabu still easy to get, but so-called designer drugs like ecstasy are becoming more common, especially among young people.
That is the fad, actually, nowadays. Especially youngsters, teenagers, students, having sex parties inside big hotels or condominiums.
In November 2017, PDEA busted 11 men at a drug-fueled sex party in a relatively classy hotel in the upmarket BGC area of Metro Manila. They included business professionals, one of whom claimed to have known nothing about the drugs until it was too late. Agents found sachets of shabu, dozens of ecstasy tablets, and about a litre of the date rape drug GHB.
They just have to invite somebody to join them in a party. And this victim doesn't even know that he will be victimized on that party.
The drug problem in the Philippines is not going to go away quickly or easily. How serious it is depends on who you talk to.
That's true, sir.
Supporters of Duterte credit him with acknowledging the addiction, which some say is half the battle. Now the government and communities themselves appear to be building firm foundations for rehabilitation.
Kasi kung walang recovery, walang ganitong outpatient na rehabilitation, wala kami dito. Hindi nila na isang number
I have learned that recovery is a lifetime process. But everyone who is recovering is prone to make mistakes and lapses. Though we are the ones who need to change, but we cannot do it alone.
Ang magagawa ko para tuloy-tuloy pagbabago ko ay tapos na ako sa recovery at na. Yung ako naman ang tumulong. Kung ano yung ginagawa ng mga nagtulong sa akin, ganun na rin ang gagawin.